Boom.
Biddly, 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 bo. Yes, yes, yo. Here we go. Ain't nobody down round here. You know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here. We had to move back to get his greatness in. It's the return of the Clout Chaser. I asked for some subscribers the past couple of videos, and I've been well informed that the Clout Chaser is back. So that's why we're here. We're after clout. The only reason we do these videos is for clout, fame, and everything in between. So bring me that clout. Get your subscriptions in, guys. It's much appreciated. I'm trying to get to 5 big G's, 5K, 5,000 G's, 5 G's, but more 5,000 G's. I think it's the right thing because you're all G's and we all know it. Get that badger in and on and over here. Quick shit vid. My man, Sean Longstaff, is in for a medical, in for a penny, in for a pound. This is why we love the clickbait. This is not my fault. You know, anybody that says, oh, what headline, what a clickbait, I don't do clickbait. Like, well, you are the clickbait lepers, and we are in here for it. So it's funny. This is how the article leads. It's like Sean Longstaff ready for his medical at Leeds United. I'm not going to put that in the title because I don't want to mislead you that much. So we're going to try and avoid the clickbait ever so slightly. Longstaff ready for medical, I'll put. But that's what the article said. Ready for Leeds United medical. And this is why we love it. You know, I'm a fan of this. It's a mint signing. But the article is basically saying that he's just ready for his medical. And the quote is, wouldn't expect any injury-related issue. So what a headline. He's 27 years old. He's Longstaff. I got in so much shit off certain people last year and even some creators saying that he ain't good enough. I honestly don't know how much more of a proven Premier League player we could attract. All of the names that have come up, he literally is guaranteed success, in my opinion. He's played 150 Premier League games, Premier League appearances. He'd fit right in with what Farker wants to do. He's physical, proper, strong, competitive. He's played 25 games this season, or he's featured in 25 Premier League games this season. Can you imagine any other promoted side getting that type of a central midfielder genuinely? Over the past few years, he's helping take Newcastle to Champions League. He's scored important goals in Cup. He's played an important role throughout. He plays at a big club, that well-supported club. There's loads of pressure on him by the fans, by everybody. You know, he's also aware that competition is straight in, quite literally up in behind him if he messes about even remotely. He plays in an immense midfield with like Tonali, Joe Linton, that Guimaraes. It'd be an amazing signing, that, and I won't have it argued. I don't care what anybody says. He's a Premier League footballer, is Sean Longstaff, and I would take it with open arms. It'd be a right addition. That the thing is, it is interesting to see where we'd go in the centre mid if we got Longstaff in, because, you know, as I say, he is a Farker footballer in my opinion. Big, strong, can get forward. That's not particularly his game, but, you know, he's a proper old school central midfielder for me. And they're talking about £12 million. And it's like, £12 million. You dizzy blood. You dizzy blood. Seaman driving German whip, 12 mil. Risky. No risk involved. None whatsoever. That was a bit of a weird accent. But yeah, that you've got to go with Sean Longstaff. It'd be a brilliant signing. It would seem also that Piroe, Parisley and Tanaka have got a bit of a bromance going on, which is good to see. Tanaka had some punditry work to get on with. So they went, I think, to Japan. I might have butchered that. It might not be Japan, but I think it was. And there's an image of them both like having a meal together and stuff. So there's obviously a bit of a bromance going on. It's interesting to see the punditry work that Tanaka gets offered. It was for the blockbuster of Kashima Antlers versus the Kawasaki Frontale. And before anyone asks, I presume it was a football game and not a motorbike race. But all jokes aside, it's good to see, genuinely, you know, because Tanaka obviously can't speak much English and stuff, and it's good to just see that there's relationships building there. And I think Piroe Parisley will feature next year. I said on my video yesterday that we'll lose a few players. I think had a couple of comments in, if we get 6 or 8 players out, we're going to need 10 or 11 in. And that wasn't necessarily alluding to 6 starters. I don't think that'll be the case. I think there'll be, you know, if we sign players like Longstaff and Simakis, however you say his name, that left back from Liverpool, Simakas, or however you say his name, you know, they're gonna potentially push people down the pecking order. It's difficult in that central midfield role because I think Ampadu and Tanaka are Premier League standard, but when players like Longstaff are there, I don't know whether potentially, if you got 3 proper strong midfielders in there like that, whether Farke does change his formation ever so slightly, I'm not so sure. Talks that Firpo might, is still being spoke. I would like to get Firpo back on the books. I'd like to keep the majority of the players like I've spoke before. But guess who's back? Back again. Vartan's back. Tell a friend. So we spoke about him, I think, last year and probably the year before that. Ever since he was about 12, it would seem. He scored 19 goals this season in Ukraine for Dynamo Kiev. He's been labelled as the classic striker. He's 23 years old and he's called Vladislav Vanat. And we spoke about him before. I got a comment a few days ago saying, check out Vladimir Vanat. And I was like, been there, done that with this, but we do keep going. We keep going over the same stuff. They're talking about a 16.8 million release clause for him, which, like I've said, I don't want to really be spending more than 20 million on anybody. I don't think there's any need for the position we're currently in, particularly not when you're talking about my man Longstaff being 12 mil. That's where you've got to be living, I believe. If we can spend up to 20 million on each player, could potentially get 6 or 7 really decent footballers in. If 4 or 5 of them work, we've had a really good window, haven't we? That's why I'm keen to keep squad players like Byram's. Even Bamford has obviously talked that he'll be going out. They're talking about Wrexham, but then apparently Vardy's in. Potentially going to Wrexham, which you could sort of see. But I just keep the nucleus until we start bringing players in. And if they, like, for instance, Sean Longstaff, and I don't mean this is not me abusing Gruev, because I think Gruev's mint. But, if we bring Sean Longstaff in and another one that's maybe a bit of a risk, Gruev, then there's a bit of a door potentially for him to leave, isn't there? I'm not calling for that to happen. I would keep, if we got Sean Longstaff in, I'd be happy with Longstaff, Gruev, Tanaka and Ampadu in central midfielders. I think that's a pretty good 4, because obviously we've lost Rothwell, which again I will take Rothwell, but if we're getting Longstaff in, his services become what's the word? Services are no longer required, but there's a word for it, isn't there? The Red Bulls, the big boys, the big Red Bullions, they've reduced their stake in Leeds United. And no, I don't mean beef. And yes, there's no beef. They've dropped it to 10% after the company declined to invest in new shares. So it puts to bed my man Piroe at the helm. It puts to bed all the nonsense where Piroe is going to be stepped on. Piroe only steps in, steps up, steps over stuff. He's never stepped on. So we are not going to be the Red Bull, Red Bull Leeds or Red Leeds. It's always going to be, we're going to stay white boys. Man U versus Tottenham tonight. I think I'm off to go watch it at pub potentially. I was going to do a watch along, but I think Joe's doing a watch along. So if I'm in on the watch along, I'll be watching on Joe's. So you might see me dropping in there for a few comments. But genuinely, keep commenting, liking, subscribing, guys. I really appreciate every which one of you. As you well know, we'll be live tomorrow, I think from 8 p.m, hopefully with a guest, and then the underlap will commence immediately after. But thank you, everybody, for your continued support. We love clickbait over here. That's how we do it. I don't think it's a bad thing. If you can't get over the title, you can't get over the title. But I think we all know by now. If you don't know by now, then you never knew. Agreed? Capiche?
Boom.